Hello. Welcome to episode 142 of Live Drawing. There's always a few seconds here to open where the restream connects to this, connects to that. A few people pop in. So we will look at our prelim here. For anybody that remembers early on in issue 0, Lord Crackus, the cuttlefish, steals Undersea Hero's wallet. And here we are at the end of the book, and the wallet gets returned just as a, hey pal, you dropped this. And he just says, thanks, bud. As if nothing was wrong. I don't think I have any issues right next to me. Otherwise, I would show off those pages. Yeah, I put them all away. Oh, wait, I might have one. Hang on. I do. One of the sketch covers from the Kickstarter. You can see Crackus and Undersea Hero just talking back and forth. And then as Crackus distracts Undersea Hero, he steals his wallet. And then, we go through 50 some odd pages of it hijinks and adventure, and eventually he just hands it back to him. So that's closing one of the loops, shall we say. I will show the update for page 54. I didn't post a picture of it just because it's been posted like every single page. It's just, here you can see the whole thing sideways. But if we come back, this is after the correlator ship blows up, and the escape pod that Colonel Feathers and Jana War stole earlier shows up again. Pulls up, he opens the windows, and then swims in, and he sees, oh my god, you're alive, because he thought they had just died. And then, he's talking like, so glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. And then Colonel Feathers is like, yeah, glad. You can see his like side-eye expression. So, and then he's, vowing, this is his vowing of revenge moment. Right here he finds out that, there's just all this money. He doesn't know where it came from. It's from, Colonel Feathers and Jana War having just robbed the Undersea casino. So, but we started this, our last episode, and we'll just keep on keeping on. We got only a handful of pages to go. I'll show off a little bit of what I found, what I got at. Here's our prelim for page 55. And it introduces a character called the Walker, which is this phantasm character that is a skeleton in a dive suit that just walks around and is there as just a spirit to restore balance in the ocean. That's kind of his whole deal. I don't have a picture of him. I have reference on my computer screen, but I can't really show that to you. So yeah, here they are talking in front of the destroyed ship. He hands back his wallet, they swim off, and then this beacon of light just shoots up. And then we see our shot of the Walker, and that's what we're going to be working on. So we'll be working on tonight. So just get my eraser because I've got to make a few changes. I didn't have my reference with me while I was out at my day work. So I was just kind of winging it. I forgot which arm. One of the arms is a skeleton. I forgot which arm it was, and it's his left arm. So, hey, Carissa. Long time no see. Thank you. Hope everything's going well with you. I know you keep putting out more and more books. Very impressive. I guess we can turn our overlay on. There we go. actually have to pull up my reference so I can see it on the screen. Cover, pinup, whatever you like. It was a pleasure drawing your characters for you. So get my other pencil. What was I thinking there? Losing my mind, I guess. I always thought those old when I was a kid, those old diving suits, I always just thought they were the coolest. So even though they're a pain to draw, I wanted to have a character that was in one, and I thought it would be cool to have one that was just kind of this metaphysical character, like an elemental. So Western, cool. Yeah, you don't see too many westerns these days. My buddy Dave Garcia, who was a another Tick artist, did a western. That's the only one I can think of. I don't know. So good for you for delving into another genre. I assume it's a horror western, just from the. Uh, when I'm doing like skeletal stuff, I tend to exaggerate it just because I think that when you draw it too accurate, it tends to be a little boring, not as expressive. So I'll just, as long as there's the right number of segments, I think you're golden. Forget where's the break here. It's like right here. Yeah. That's right. There were like little fish around him too. Yeah. It's coming back to me. I honestly, I have only drawn this character maybe 3 times. I did a little doodle. I designed it, and then I haven't drawn it since probably these little horrible little thumbnails. Percy, you doing any? You signed up for some conventions? You doing some promos? You got something planned for Free Comic Book Day? Feel free to, if you want to drop a link or anything in the chat, you're welcome to, so people can know where to find you. It was interesting last week when we did the show. There were just like a bunch of people. It was nice. I can show off some of what I picked up at the convention. I did not table at this convention. I once in a while I like to just go and hang out. Honestly, it's good for my morale, and it's good. I also do like different business. I don't know how other people feel about it. Oh, there we go. Carissa's Kickstarter right there. Uh, I helped out with one of her earlier book covers. I don't know if you can get that through the Kickstarter, but I can check it out, and it might be an add-on or something. But Worthy Chaos, good people, good stuff. Yeah, I've done 2 covers for them. There was a wraparound that my buddy Nate colored, which was pretty exciting. Anytime I can work with Nate is just a wonderful thing. He's the guy that taught me so much about coloring in my career. And then the first one had the Anubis character, and it's more like a pulpy cover. That one was fun too. I'm starting to do notice that people are recognizing that I do a fair number of wraparound covers, which I don't mind, but they are twice the work. Let me say. Oh, there you go. So you can hit up the Kickstarter and pick up two separate books that I've done, along with a bunch of others that will complete the story. So hop over to that Kickstarter. I'll make sure to put it in the description on YouTube and stuff. Sorry if I didn't realize my stuff was there. Should let I should let the good people know. Of course, yeah. Sorry, had I investigated, I could have been better, but I was not. So that is my fault. I'm still catching up on some of my messages from when I was sick, so if I'm missing any messages from people, don't hesitate to reach out. I've got like three or four, and I've got like two packages I got to mail out still. I actually got to mail out my brother a birthday present too. So we're getting old. We're all getting older. Where did I put that pile? Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'll show off what I grabbed at the convention. Um, Sorry if there's a glare. Um, yeah, I picked this up. I enjoy the Simpsons comics. Of course, this is that was your first variant ever. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you've gone on and done tons and tons of other books. I don't even know how many books. 20 books now, 25 books. Crazy. 21. 21. Crazy. I picked this up for my buddy Jay. He's been doing covers for Archie Comics. I haven't read this one yet, but I will give it a read. It's one of the more modern looking ones. But my buddy Jay Kennedy did the cover. Tony Sedani, another member of the Tick Brotherhood, has a new one based on it's a like a one shot that takes place in his Return to Rander story world. And I love the Return to Rander stuff. If you dig like the uh, Sergio Leone westerns, um, 1,000% recommended. Where it's like, and it's got like a mix of the Kurosawa with the kung fu. Like, yeah. I picked up some nice dollar books. Anything with the Thunderstrike era Thor that I don't have. I picked up a few of those. Yeah, a couple of those. 455, 456, 454, 457. Random Avengers. Batman Annual. Hey, Andrew. This was a signed book by Salvador Larroca for $5. I've never met Salvador, but I dig his work and I have a bunch of his comics, so I wanted something signed. He's Mystery in Space. These are great if you ever see these. And one of these has like an early Brian Boland story in it. Is it this one? I don't know if it's this one. Yeah, early Brian Boland right there. These are sci-fi anthology series. Yeah, spaghetti westerns, the Italian westerns, just killer. Early Boland. Look at that, good stuff. Um, you know me, I dig my Charltons. I got this for a deal. My friend EJ had a book I hadn't picked up yet, The Dragon of Wantley. It's a 17th century poem that she illustrated, which just looks terrific. I love EJ's work. She's awesome, nice person. Matt Bissett, I caught up on his stuff. I missed a bunch of his issues, so I got his Damon issues that I had missed. He's on issue 11 now, so he's just been cranking them out. But yeah, that's I went and hung out at Wicked Comic Con. I really enjoyed myself. If there's an opportunity to set up next year, I would love to. And then this was cool because Tom Snegoski, the writer of the Herculoids, and my friend Craig Russo, who's drawing the Herculoids, were both there. So I got the writer and the artist to sign the beautiful Mike Mignola variant. So yeah, and yeah, like I was saying, I like going to conventions without tabling sometimes because I can go around and like talk to people, and it's like a different type of work. Like I can talk to retailers, I can talk to people who run conventions, I can book convention spots, which I did that. I will be doing a show in Connecticut in the fall. I have a free comic book day coming up at New England Comics in Brockton, and then I'm doing CodCon, which is a library show in Hyannis. I'm a big fan of shows at libraries because they're really about promoting just reading in general, which I think is super important, especially in our current times. Literacy is very important. So, especially off screen, if I can get people to check out some printed books, that would be great. And I think I'm going to do the deal that I've done in the past at library shows is if you have a library card, an active library card, I will gladly do a sketch for you for free. So we will do that. That'll be the giveaway at the table. And then, I'm going to be doing a talk. I'll be doing the Making Comics panel that I've done at conventions all over the country. And yeah, it'll be a good time. Hyannis is on Cape Cod, so a little bit of a drive, but it should be nice to go visit. Andrew says, that's the thing. I know a lot of Conan fans, but they never read a Howard story. Yeah, I mean, honestly, and if you've read the comics, that's great and all. And even Roy Thomas has said that, like, well, at least the artists that work with him, I know, have said that he would basically just take the paperbacks and like underline sections and be like, "Hey, do this as the comic," and then they would basically do all the plotting and all of the adaptation, whether it was John Buscema or any of the other artists. I don't know how Barry Windsor Smith worked with Thomas. Um, I know Barry's done interviews about it, but I don't know if I've read much about their collaborations. Um, I did pick up the new Solomon Kane comic that Patch Zurcher did. I just haven't read it yet. It looks good. I'm looking forward to it. Well, those weird tales, a lot of those you can find online because they're public domain. So if you want to read like the old pulps and stuff, those you can find online. If you've ever wanted to read the original uh, Howard stories as they were written, I tend to recommend the Solomon Kane ones just because I think that they're moodier and they're a little more accessible. So if somebody doesn't want to read 10 million Conans, there's only a handful of Solomon Kane stories that he wrote that I think they're very accessible. It's been a while. I read them in like high school, so that was a long time ago. Yeah, my dad actually bought me those paperbacks when I was a kid. Bran McMorn, some of the other stuff, not just the Conan bits. Yeah, my folks were big fans of. Anytime we showed any interest in reading, they would always encourage it, and that's generally my thoughts, and that's what I want to do at that library show at CodCon. It's the Sunday after Free Comic Book Day. I haven't seen what time my spiel is, what time my talk is, so when I have those details, I will post them up in case anybody's interested in popping out and hearing me ramble about and answer questions about making comics. If you haven't seen my making comics panel, I've done it, for many years, and it's really just encouraging people to make comics and answering their questions. And I tend to tailor it to who's in the room with me. If people want to talk about like how to physically make finished comics themselves, or if they're looking to get their portfolio ready to work on other people's comics, because that's, I think, one of the most important questions is do you want to make your own comics or do you want to make someone else's comics? And they're really two different pursuits. Yeah, Brad McMorn's good stuff. I've wondered why they haven't done adaptations of like the lesser known stuff, but I think they did a little bit of that in the Battle of the Blackstone. They did a little bit of that. It always feels like all the B Edgar Rice Burroughs characters get some sort of look, but the lesser known Howard characters are not as don't get as much pop culture attention. The Wicked Comic Con was actually a free show. It was in downtown Boston. I actually took the train for free. Parked, I didn't have to park. I walked to the train station. So it was really good. Free travel, free parking, free comic convention. So there were some very good dealers there. I didn't see as many high end books as I saw at like a Little Giant show. Little Giant show, I always say, is as far as that goes, is special. I think you could walk into there with the intent on buying basically any key book, and if you have the money, you can walk out with it. But it's a different type of show. The Wicked show was really, I think it was a community show. Had a lot of local artists, a lot of people I knew there, so it was very cool. I was I enjoyed it. I would like to set up at a future one. I'd set up at previous ones. They had I didn't set up last year. I set up at the first one, and I set up at the second one, and I haven't set up since. But after being there and seeing what it's become, I'd be happy to do it if they have a spot next year. Saw some people I hadn't seen in a while, which was nice. Ugh. See how his suit's beat up, and then there's like little fish swimming in and out of the empty section. Hey Patrick, it was good to see you at Wicked Comic Con this past weekend. I haven't read EJ's new book yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And I picked up Matt Bassett's uh, issues of Damon. I don't know if there was an official Boston Comics Roundtable table at that one. I didn't see Danny there. Someone who I haven't seen in a while, and I wonder how she's doing, is another creator whose work I really like, is Kat Lemmy. She's just a terrific cartoonist. If you ever see her work on Geraniums and Bacon or I Survived War or any number of her other works, I always really liked her stuff. Patrick says they made an opera about the Dragon of Wantley. VCR artists were scattered here and there. Yeah, I saw a few around. I just didn't know if there was the official booth, the a group that has endured, which is impressive. I think I, like a lot of people, enjoyed Can't Let Me Drew a story about the city of Byzantium for the late lamented magazine The Nib. I don't know if I saw that one. I love her work. I really do. I think she's just phenomenal. Back when I was publishing more of like other people's work, I was like, please let me publish collected Geraniums and Bacon, like in like a full size comic format. I just think if people saw that work, they would be. It's just yeah. I think it would take off. It would gain a greater foothold, or however you'd want to see it. Just I saw my copy of Outbound #1 floating around the other day. I hadn't seen that in a while. I think I saw it because it was like it was one of those oddball size comics. It was like a digest slash size comic. I remember when I was first starting out in Boston, I was talking to um, Tom Yee at New England Comics in Quincy, and we were talking about the possibility of doing one of my early books called Small Town Type in a different size, and he was like, just don't do that. Like if you want people to look at it, like unless you have a bookstore with a bookshelf, if you're looking to sell it in comic stores, it's got to be the traditional size. The Walker is just a ethereal being. He's definitely a character here that I would describe as being an elemental. He walks the bottom of the ocean and just shows up when balance needs to be restored. Yeah, I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Are you kidding me? That was, if I ever got a chance. I know it's public domain, and that's like a bucket list thing would be to do my own adaptation of that. That, you know, I have some fun ideas for that book. That's respectable comic work, doing literary adaptations and the like. I'm still making my stupid talking cuttlefish comics at this point in my life, so clearly I'm not at that point where I make respectable literary works yet. But I have ideas. I have some in the back of my head that I will hopefully get a chance to put out into the world. I'm actually reading that Rick Parker memoir book, Drafted now. It was him about him being drafted into the army just before Vietnam in the '60s. It's an interesting book. I have read Moby Dick in varying formats, actually. Will Eisner did an adaptation that was very interesting. It was highly abbreviated, but it was when he was doing like Don Quixote and all that stuff for NBM. That was interesting. I've read other Melville too. Bartleby, Benito Cereno. Working at the Nantucket Historical Association when I was younger, it was we also had to read Nat Philbrick. That was another. So like In the Heart of the Sea, Faraway Island, um, Mayflower. Books about the ocean I read a lot. Kurlansky's Cod. That's an interesting one about the different cod fisheries in the ocean and how they have shaped the economies of nations in the past. That was an interesting one. It's the same writer that did Salt. That was kind of a popular book for a while. I have to lower this because we can't have that. We can't have those two touching. Ahab muses about a whale living in ocean depths that no man has ever conceived. I mean, it's like an entire alien. We talk about it all the time. It's like having an alien world, right, you know, right there. And they discover new species all the time, which is very cool. And they've studied how deep sperm whales go to hunt for prey. The ocean is vast and it is fascinating. That is part of my enjoyment of studying it for so long. This is where we just need a really nice silhouette. And then I want to use 2 tones of blue to kind of frame him. You know how we use those little watery bits that come down kind of like this. Hello, microwave. Welcome to the stream. Good silhouette can do a lot for a page. I don't use them a ton, but when I do use them, it's very intentionally. So I want to show something specific that a silhouette communicates quicker and easier to the reader and gets the point across. Microwave says, I'm looking for people who can draw my PFP, but you're drawing a comic thingy, so I won't disturb. But if you want, when you're done, you can. PFP. What is PFP? Hey, Elon. Yeah, I'll be doing Free Comic Book Day at the New England Comics in Brockton. I'll be doing a signing there, and then the next day, what is that? May 4th, May 4th and 5th, 3rd and 4th. And double check what those dates are. May 3rd and 4th. May 3rd, I'll be in Brockton. May 4th, I'll be at CodCon on the Cape, which is at the library in Hyannis. And it's to promote literacy. And I'll be doing, if you have an active library card, I will do a free sketch for you. Little head sketch or whatever. So, oh, profile picture. Gotcha. I'm gonna have to pass, unfortunately. I'm on page 55 of this book, and I've just got to keep working until it's done. So, thank you for asking, though. So yeah, if you're bored or you're in the area, Eli. And I was just at a show this past weekend in Boston, and I'll be doing a convention in Connecticut in the fall, and I've been talking to a couple other ones. I need to start lining stuff up for when, thankfully, Undersea Hero is done. You know, that's a thing that'll happen. Oh, of course, yeah. We need to hang out. I need to buy me an Eli Stone sketch for me to hang on my wall. That's what I need to do. I don't know if you have any pages floating around or if you sold them all years ago. Gabe was telling me he sold all his for like skateboard money back in the day. Hey, Martha, it's good to see you. Yeah. No, and I can tell you a little bit of what my publishing schemes are that are coming up for beyond this year. especially for my own stuff, and I'm hoping to be able to help out my friends. So we'll chat at some point. I'm just reaching that point where like I now know kind of what I want to do and what I want to put out, and it's probably different than what people are expecting me to do. I think everybody's expecting me to just as soon as I finish this to start go looking for IPs to chase or whatever. Oh, Martha's, you drew your PFP. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. I am feeling better, thank you. Yeah. Probably about halfway through. Oh, sure. Yeah. Maybe I can hire you to do an Undersea Hero short or something. I would love for Undersea Hero to be a haven for all of all of the Tick Brotherhood. Um, a big chinned comedy character that you can tell your stories in. Safe harbor for the Tick Brotherhood is the better way to put it. We should all get matching jackets or something. Something classy, like a smoking jacket of some kind. I don't smoke, but I could. What do you have? The decanter. You have the decanter and the fancy jacket. Uh, Heck yeah, Tony. I was promoting your work earlier, um, showing off the book, showing off the book, talking about Return to Rander and how people should check that out because it's like awesome and I love it and I can't wait to read this. It takes place in the same universe. So, um, yeah, I was describing it as like we talked about it. Like there's the Leone, there's the Kurosawa, there's like all these cool, awesome uh like what influences, but like it's its own thing and it's a killer book. And when I was thrilled to get to do that pinup for you. Um, so everyone should check out Tony's stuff. He's also been doing really fun Simpsons. Hey, I'd be down for that. Once Eli, once the thing exists, once Undersea Hero exists, it will be ripe for us to collaborate in different ways. And I've talked to other creators about similar things. That's the kind of stuff that I want to be able to do, and it would elevate my ability to promote my friends' work. I could do, yeah, crossovers, all kinds of stuff. I do wonder what Brick and Undersea Hero would do as far as getting along goes. I don't know. I feel like Brick is more sure of himself from what you've described and what I've seen in the sample stuff. Undersea Hero's stupidity tends to win out, shall we say, in his personality. Gotta tighten some of this stuff up here. But we're on page 55. We got 4 to go. So we showed off the finished one earlier from the last day. You might have been here when you can only see the whole thing sideways, so I have to hold it sideways. And then that's page 54. So here's 54 that we finished. This past weekend. Sunday? Sunday. Yeah, we finished it on Sunday. Sunday. So It is 8:49. Yeah, it just has taken a long time, you know. And I talked to a lot of the people that were at the show this past weekend are people that backed the Kickstarter, and they are fully on board. They've been following, that it's still getting worked on the streams, and they check out the posts and stuff. So uh, they were all very supportive. John Euskatis, who does Boots and Pup, said some real nice stuff. You can check out his stuff on Instagram. He posts a really excellent all ages cartoon strip called Boots and Pup. The first trade paperback is entitled "Inspired Laziness," and I would highly recommend it to folks with young kiddos. I actually have an interesting drawing from John. That's not like a kid's drawing. He did a series of drawings for a Boston Comic Con years ago, and he did a drawing of the creature from the Black Lagoon that I bought off of him, and I still have that, and I love it. I don't have it in front of me. It's in one of my binders. It's kind of an odd size. It's like a little bit smaller than a backing board. Oh, thank you, Elon. That's very nice of you. Yep, it is it's a marathon. It is, and I've never been too fast of a runner. I go jogging, but I'm not a good runner as far as speed. My family genetically was not designed for fast speeds. We're all pretty slow runners. That is. But we're gonna get there, and when it's done, I just hope people really enjoy it. I almost have the Fisherman Field Guide, the Undersea Hero Field Guide done, the travel one. That was one of the stretch goals. I just have to. Drew the main figure. I just have to draw some more of the little fishies. Yeah, inset panels, I use them sparingly because they have to have a really, really intentional purpose. And artists like Joe Kubert use them often, and he was very adept at it, even throughout like just basic storytelling. And I tend to be a little nervous that it takes too much, like it arrests, like it stops the viewer completely. So it takes a really simple panel. I actually, there's dialogue here, and then it's for the rest of the page, there is no dialogue, so it slows you down to a stop, and then the wordless panels just carry you through. So I'm hoping that is a good way for balancing out that hard stop. Oh, nice. We will. I got to get to the finish line, and then I can collaborate with my friends more. Is basically where we got to be. And I think, I didn't expect to, but I do have another Undersea Hero story that has come to my mind. It's not a long story, so maybe it'll be like a 15 or 16 pager that I just do and put online, and we could make like a one shot out of it or something. Because when you read the story, there is a very distinct beginning, middle, and end, and then there is room for what would happen next. And book two, hypothetically, is set up very blatantly and intentionally. And it just really depends on where I'm at creatively. I have, yeah. This is his first appearance in the story. I've kind of just accepted that, if you're going to follow me on this journey, that it's like everything is spoilers. So this is a character called the Walker. He is just a elemental spirit that walks on the ocean floor, and his purpose is to just maintain balance and order in the ocean. He doesn't speak; he just has this beam that is a fun visual that just comes out of his open door on the front of his helmet. There, his dive bell. And at the end of the book, there's this, and then you'll see on page 56, um, at Undersea Hero's house, you meet like a handful of other, yeah, supernatural character. Yep. And I have plans for him in the future, and this is just his first little cameo. He just walks through after the big fight. There's nothing for him to stop and do or intervene with, so he just walks through the scene and keeps on walking. So, not in this issue, not in this book, but the introduction of him visually was um, important in this first book. Like, I have ideas for him in the future. Um, yep, the red eye for that stuff. Yeah, that's true. Martha's, you're right. I could just do short stories and like, I my brain for this one was based around a certain set of circumstances that no longer really exist. So like it's a triple-sized issue that, like, if it did well, the intention was, like, we could repackage it as a three-issue miniseries with some backup stories and sell it to stores through distributors, but distributors have changed so much that I don't know if that's possible. So, um, we'll find out, I guess. I can talk to Lunar and the couple of the others because I have the great variant covers that were for the Kickstarter that I could just easily turn into the covers for the miniseries. But I have no idea if that is a thing that can happen anymore. I have to make phone calls, but I haven't had time to make phone calls because I've been working on the book and I haven't wanted to interrupt that for anything. Hey Brian, good to see you, man. Yeah, this is one of those characters that I have plans, but not in this book. We're 56 pages in and he's just showing up. So obviously it's for future things. What's that? Comic Fury wasn't that good? Is that from EXP? Ah, that's all right. No, I was just saying, as far as like my initial plans for this book, um, were to put it out as the Kickstarter full length, three-issue miniseries all together, and then split it up and then offer it and through solicitation, through store, through a distributor. But because Diamond and all the other stuff have changed so much, I don't even know if that's even possible anymore. And those are like phone calls I just haven't had time to make. So when we finish the book and people get their books for the Kickstarter, I'll be able to start to poke around, and who knows, I'll show it to some publishers, see if they want to re-release it, or if I can re-release it myself as that mini series. It's 56 pages for this one, and basically, I would split it into three, and there's a beginning, middle, and end, and I would add a backup story to each one to give each issue a little extra punch. That's what it would be. Comic Fury. I don't know what you mean by Comic Fury. My brain's just not connecting dots. I'm sorry. This is page 55. We're on page 55. But I've got to go back and redo, I think, 4 pages. So 3 pages, 3 pages. I've got 3 pages to go back and redo after this. And then it's on to coloring. Thankfully, I've got my friends to help me with the coloring. And we'll hopefully move through that pretty quick. Yep, it is full color. I'm going to color it just like the early pages like this with the retro colors where it looks like 4-color. It'll be colored just like this. You can see the Ben-Day dots. See all the little dots. And it's hand lettered, so that's what it'll look like. A big pull-out poster. Hey, Jonathan. I'm not sure. I've used, for things with tip jars, I've used, obviously my website through Wix. I've used a whole bunch of things. I'm gonna be coloring it, but I do have friends helping with the labor of laying down the flats and stuff. And honestly, the coloring is much faster than drawing. Especially if people lay the flats for me, I can do 4 or 5 pages in a day. That's no problem. And lettering has become one of my favorite parts of making comics, if I'm being honest. It's funny, two of the things I really just didn't like when I was first starting out, and I thought they were super hard, have become two of my favorite things. And that would be lettering by hand and um, coloring's pretty important. Like every step's so important. And when you see this one when it's done, you're gonna be able to tell that it was all by one person. And sole authorship on comics, like that's some of my favorite comic stuff. I should have put a plug for that convention that I'm doing, the little show, the CodCon, and the signing. I don't think I've gotten anything from NEC about the Free Comic Book Day signing. I think I'm on my own for making any sort of promotional materials. Promotions never been NEC's like strong suit, so let's be real here. Well, Dime Box we'll do as a separate thing. Like that'll be its own thing. If we can get, all we got to do is get 3 people together to do, 5, 6 pages a piece, and we've got a book done. That's an easy one. Little anthologies are like one of my favorite things because a few people can get together and have a book real easy. Jonathan says he just got an email about free comic book day at NEC. No word about guests and only advertised like half a dozen of the free issues. Cool. Well, I'll this weekend I'll put something together and I'll tag them in it, and hopefully they'll at the very least pick it up. I don't know if anyone else is going to be there. I guess I should call the store and ask Ralph, and I can put it together. Can lead a horse to water, right? Thanks for pointing that out. I will bug them. If I have time, I'd like to have a free print or something to give people, whether it's Undersea Hero or something else. But we'll see what we have time to do between now and then. I just don't have time to do extra artwork is the thing. So it's like I got to pull from what I already have, and maybe I can use the thank you card that I did. I can turn that into a mini print or something. But we've made it to page 55, and we are working our way through it. It's 9 o'clock. Do we keep plugging along or do we call it a night? I don't know. Some of that white out on me. Shoot, it's not dry. As you can see, the walker it's one time had a human form. You can see his spine, like it's connecting the two. Try to have a cool silhouette walking off into the distance. So the fun thing about underwater stuff is you can use just moving water as like a framing device. So that's always like a cool, easy thing to do. And when this is colored in, this will be very dark, and then the light that comes out of his helmet is like bright green. So if you think about like the stark colors of like Green Lantern or whatever, when you think about those directional devices too, of like the ray lines, like that's the thought process behind there. We haven't drawn a Krakus in a while. We can draw Krakus, and then that'll be this will be our closer for the evening. We'll work on this inset panel here. The dime box we will do as a thing. And we've talked about as a channel doing like a team assignment. So like whether it's inking something, I want to do more sketch giveaways, and then I'll have a new book to promote so we can, give away copies of that. So like stuff will open up some when I'm not spending every waking moment thinking about or working on these 50 some odd pages. And there's just the weight of it being on top of me for this like over a year now. I have people telling me to not like constantly feel like I'm holding everyone back or letting everyone down, but it's just there. It's just constantly there. Just because it's taking longer than it should. I have my S pen. I need to get a new one. It's falling apart. When the tip is splitting. No, I wouldn't be missing paid work for them. We will do it. It just has to be after Undersea Hero, like I've said from the beginning. Yeah, I want to do that Kenton of Space Patrol character, and then I've talked to a couple of friends. I've been trying to see who wants to jump in on it. People are busy, so what I'm hoping is, like I said, if we can get just 3, 4 people together, if I can get Jay to do one, and maybe we can get Allison to do a short story or a pinup, that would be good. And then boom, we've got a book. And it doesn't have to be a big giant, you know, huge pile of stuff. I saw some of these giant anthologies that people do where they have like, 20, 30 contributors. Like, yeah, it sounds cool, but then you got to do all of the work of landing that plane, shall we say. The project managing of that is quite a bit of work. No, I won't miss any paid work for it. I've also just kind of been like in one of those reflective periods where I'm thinking about what I want to work on, and thankfully, because I have enough corporate work currently, I can be selective. I don't have to work on every job. I can just work with my friends. Like when Carissa shows up and says, "Hey, we should do another cup." She's my friend. That would be a lot of fun. Her second cover that I did, they're both available in the Kickstarter link that she tossed in the comments. Was a wraparound, and that one I put a lot of time into. And my buddy Nate Lovett, who he's done coloring for coloring and inking for Marvel. He's done all kinds of licensing. He's currently doing like the Ninja Turtle kids books. He's worked at you know all the companies, and I've known him since I was a young lad. Using the mob, having the same mob, maybe. Yeah, I think mine's going to be in outer space, but if we have the other folks that are, I mean, unless there's a space mob, which in the Golden Age comics there very well could be space mob, and it could just be a different division of mob, so it could still work. Those absolutely absurd ideas that existed in those Golden Age comics are a lot of fun. I read one not that long ago about this guy who was like a bad criminal. So the mob guys sent him underground to work on the work as the like mob liaison to the Hollow Earth subterranean people. And just because he was like a surface guy, he was like the best criminal in the subterranean world. It was just a weird story. Space mob. And that's just what they would call it. They would be like, no, we've got to talk to the space mob operative. Yeah, the first Dime box I did a story for a character named Sub Saunders, who just was a guy with a nuclear sub, and I there was a I don't know, was it Jupiter or Saturn, a moon, like a distant moon? There was a problem that only Space Saunders could solve, and so they strapped his submarine to the side of a rocket and sent him into space because that's like the most practical thing we could do, right? Yeah, this is a very understated little moment. Was the return of the wallet from issue 0 slash the beginning of issue 1. This is where the first time we see, and I say the first time because that's a thing that will happen again. Krakus will take Undersea Hero's wallet again, and there's a story behind that too, and it goes somewhere, and it's a thing that they will have an important conversation about one day. So. It was a weird story. Yeah, that one with the under the subterranean mob guy. First off, they just don't explain like anything other than, of course, there is an underground civilization that bad criminals go to be better criminals there. That was a weird story. There's actually a couple of issues of Charlton Comics, and I've talked about my enjoyment of these. They were a publisher out of Derby, Connecticut, where the writer didn't want to put his name to it, and he just would write Jim Beam or Jack Daniels as the writer. And the wallet is not explained. It's part of the plot that moves forward in this issue. Um, all that does get explained, though. Someday, I hope. I hope I get to tell those stories. Part of me, the old way I used to publish comics was just I made them on my own time, my own dime, and then I would just ask around if people wanted some, and then I would order them based on that, and they'd be done. And yeah, I basically either that or I just bankrolled it myself, and that was kind of how I did things. And then this was my first foray into the public Kickstarter thing, and pretty sure for some of the stuff I will go back to the way things were done before. But a discussion for another evening. There we go. We inked Lord Krakus returning the wallet to Undersea Hero. A important panel, and we penciled the first appearance of the Walker, and then we did his silhouette there. So thanks so much for everybody coming to hang out tonight. We're going to call it a night. I hope everybody is healthy and happy and has a good weekend. And thanks for hanging out this evening. Like I said, I'll be at Free Comic Book Day in Brockton, May 3rd, Saturday, and then the 4th I'll be at CodCon at the Hyannis Public Library. And if you have a active library card of your hometown or Hyannis, just show it there, and I'll be happy to do a little sketch for you. So, yeah, thanks everybody, and have a good weekend. I hope to see you next week. Bye.